Okay, welcome to everybody. I hope you like my new intro. We're going to start doing the countdown timer to give some time for people to get the notifications, getting, with those getting blasted out, and everybody knows about what's going on. So appreciate your patience there. We have another live Q&A. We're going to go over all of your questions and questions about PPC marketing, current events, stuff like this. Yeah, I mean, normally as we do, we start out with a little preamble, we talk about what's going on and so forth. For the most part, guys, there isn't too much on my mind this week about new stuff that's coming out. Ultimately, the big stir still is about what is the AI overviews on Google going to do to our results on Google. And if you're relying on organic traffic, you're going to be sorry in the future. So anybody who relies on organic traffic now on Google is getting chipped into more and more all the time because Google keeps pushing the AI overviews more and more. And not only this, but the Google Maps, one thing I've noticed recently too as well, is a lot of the times they're only showing one map listing on Google now instead of 3. And of course, that map listing is a sponsored listing. So both of those going on at the same time, I think it's pretty clear, also with Google announcing they're getting rid of the 10 blue links, that in the future, if you aren't running ads and you're just going to try to be a freeloader off of Google, your days are numbered. And it's going to piss off a lot of people. But I mean, hey, Google's here to sell ads. It's not to give people free traffic, right? Ultimately. And you either value the traffic enough to pay for it or you don't. But, just like everything that's going to be free, it's going to be free for a while and then paid because nothing's free. And the maps, people have spent years building up their rankings on their maps, and that's just going to get chipped away to nothing. I foresee in the next 24 months that at least more than half, if not 90% of the time, the map section is going to be one listing and it's going to be a sponsored listing, because that makes only logical sense why Google would do that, right? Why are they going to have the map section on there, pulling away traffic from the text ads and actively diverting traffic around away from what makes the money to what gives free people who want free traffic more money? Right now, there was a whole thing where and it's still true. You advertise, you show to Google you're a good customer, they're going to want to give you more organic traffic. But that was just a temporary thing. In the future here, very soon, you're just either going to have to run paid ads or you're not going to get anything at all. Not like, it's a nice to have. No, it's going to be you pay for it or you get nothing. Now, you may say the AI overview, they've got to recommend something, and that is true. So like where if you go in there and you say, how to hire, what's the best plumber in Miami, it'll have to recommend something. That's true. However, the problem with all that is you're going to have to figure out how to get in there all over again. And all these years you spent to get to number 1, 2, and 3 in the organic, all that's gone. How encouraging is it to have to relearn everything and to get into the rankings there and invest all over again when you could just run paid ads and get to the top right away? And this is actually, if you guys, I've been around a long time doing internet marketing. I used to have a whole network of blogs, rank them. Back in 2013, Google shifted what they were doing, and whereas the organic results were pretty stable before then, they had the whole penguin update, and since then they've just keep shuffling the deck. And this is very clear as to why they do this, and that is because they don't want people getting comfortable. They want people's minds, they're fucking with people basically. They want people to think, the average business owner to think, this organic stuff is too hard. It's too volatile. Let's just run paid ads. And that's clearly what they're doing here. This is just stepping it up another level. They're going to, the organic, how are you going to even optimize for the AI overview, because the AI overview, as you know, if you've ever messed with it enough, it doesn't give you the same output every time. Not to mention, these rank trackers don't work for it. So how are you even going to know if you have success from it? Yes, you can go into Google Analytics perhaps and see how much traffic you're getting. But at the end of the day, Google could at any time just shuffle it and just, mention something else. And are you going to invest serious money into that when you could just run the paid ads? And people will say, well, paid ads are too expensive. Well, no, they're not. You just aren't doing the ads right. Otherwise, they wouldn't be getting any customers to buy the ads. So you could either play this unknown game of maybe Google mentions me, maybe they don't, or my ads are for sure going to run and I just have to figure out how to run them successfully, and I'll have consistent traffic from Google and don't have to worry about really much after that. And that's going to be a much easier path. Google's setting this all up right now to where relying on organic traffic in the future is going to be really dicey. I mean, it has been they've been going this direction for a while with organic traffic. It's getting harder and harder to get. And in the future, it's just going to nobody's going to want to optimize for organic traffic because it's going to be dicey. And at the best, you're only going to get 10% of the traffic that running paid ads is going to get you anyway. So what's the point? Even if you win, the prize is low. So I was just curious what your thoughts are on all of that. I mean, at the same time, Google's making it harder and harder to make the ads work. But to me, that's a plus, because just like with click fraud, I mean, if you got click fraud and you know how to beat click fraud, but your competitors don't, that click fraud helps you. So you want it to be challenging so that you can do the things that other people aren't willing to do and then take all the winnings. You don't want it to be an easy game for everybody, because then the winnings will be small. So, and by the way, our click fraud software, I've been tempted to just release it anyway, but it's a fantastic software. It's better than anything else, even at the price range. It's 100 times better than anything else. The price range of a couple $100 a month is what we're charging for it. We're having a free trial right now. We're not even charging for it. If you'd want access to it, just email me. For what we're charging couple $100 for here very shortly, we'll give it to you for free at the beginning, and we'll get you hooked up. I'm not going to put it out there because the sales page ain't ready. We've tested this for several months now. It works beautifully. And again, a disadvantage is your advantage. So yes, everything's changing more and more. Google's trying to shift up everything with the ads, getting rid of display ads, getting rid of the end of the day, if you just roll with the punches and realize that the competitor's extremely lazy, you win automatically here. You got to think about it from that perspective. And if you do and you roll with the punches, you end up having something that guarantees you always make 80% of the money in your market. So that said, let's get into a boys and girls. Carousel, thank you for your vote of confidence as usual. Let's see here. Charles, what is your thoughts on display being phased out and into demand gen? You probably have heard about this. Yeah, I mean, I actually have mentioned about this already. And the short of it is, ultimately, it's going to be harder to get it to work, certainly. But demand gen is so good with its machine learning that if you have a display campaign that works and you move it over, it should work there as well. You just have to get your targeting right. And the main thing you're not going to be able to do with demand gen that you could do with regular display campaign is target certain websites, of which, like I said, we're going to have to go back and go old school with it. Go directly to the website owner, buy a direct banner ad placement on the website. That's going to be the way. And you run demand gen campaigns that will at least tell you the placements that work. Then you could reach out, and if you want to run an ad exclusively there, you can do it. So you start out with good enough targeting, and then you do the direct buys is what I would suggest. And, just like what I was saying before, if everybody's got to do it, then it's at least on a level playing field, and you just have to do it a little bit better than them. Granted, I like display campaigns, but I just foresee that it's really not going to be that much different at the end of the day, at least when you make up for it with the direct ad buys. Hi, Mustafa. I like that you appreciate that you like the new intro. And yeah, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. Mohammed, Corey, let's go. Thank you. Woo. Woo. Carousel. There he is. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Religio Co. Hi, we run Facebook ads for our local business and we always get low quality leads. We tried website messenger chat, but we don't really get real customers. Is this us or are we bad creatives or what? So Facebook recently has okay, here's my conspiracy theory here, guys. And I'm not just saying this because I am in the click fraud field now officially, or soon to be very, very, very soon, like in a month. Having our website taking on commercial inquiries and paid customers instead of just beta testers. Ultimately, okay, the economy is shit right now. Like I mean, you don't believe me, consumer confidence levels, the surveys, consumer sentiment is at an all-time low, even worse than 08, 09. So people are just a combination of the economy and then scared about current events. And so what happens is people start buying less, right? And they start buying less. And what does the ad networks do? Facebook, Google. Do they say, oh, that's just what, it goes how it goes. And therefore our businesses that advertise can't advertise as much because the first thing every business cuts pretty much when they need to cut expenses because sales are down is advertising. Does the Facebook and Google say, oh, that's just how it goes. She goes as she goes. And they're going to say, she goes as she goes, shareholders. Or they go to say, you know what? Why don't we just let some more of the bot traffic that we normally swat like a bug? Why don't we just let some more of it through? And then that'll make sure the current advertisers we have left have to pay more, even though there's not more customers to buy. And then everything gets papered over. Okay. Of which lines up perfectly with what I've heard in the rumblings from several people now about Facebook ads. And I've seen it at our agency ourselves that fake leads are coming in at astronomical rates now. And this is why I believe why. How do you fix it? You got to have click fraud mitigation. And you have to also, of course, have CRM level integration on your campaigns to weed out the low quality leads in combination. But that tracking by itself isn't going to work. Why? Because you need so much data that you'll never get enough data before you go broke, which is where our click fraud software is going to be needed. You're going to have to, and this click fraud software, it's not like what it, oh, click fraud software doesn't work. ClickSees doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. The standard click fraud software doesn't work that you pay a few $100 a month for or $100 a month for. The ones that are 10,000 a month do work. I've created one that's going to be a couple $100 a month that work basically just as well or close for the common small business owner, which analyzes the user before they click on the ad. And so you could then not get charged for the users that aren't allowed to load your website because this Facebook will give you a credit for these users and they'll see it as an invalid click. Not to mention it'll clean up your click stream right away so that the algorithm can optimize for the right quality traffic right away or very quickly anyway. So also on top of this, it helps honestly to kind of get away from lead ads if you can. I would suggest when you have a issue like this to drive people to a landing page. And even though you'll get less leads that way, you'll at least clean up that problem right away. And then you combine that with the click fraud software that we have. And it's free right now, guys. I'm literally offering it for free, not to mention you get to see how it works before you block a single visitor. We've got it to where it has like a monitor only mode. And you can see how much of your traffic is click fraud. And you can identify if click fraud is what's holding you back. And then you just turn it on. Hey, start blocking these guys that look like they're clearly fraud. And it's hilarious because I look at the IP logs on our clients that are already using this. We already have dozens of our clients on it because it works, of course, but guys that want to try it out before we do the official paid release, you look at their click logs, and it's ridiculous. The ad networks are, you look at the IP log, it's like the first 3 octets of the IP address are all the same, and then the last 3 are like slightly off. It'll be like 237, 239, 431, and they're almost identical IP addresses. It's like these Facebook and Google and Bing are really egregious with this and how they're doing. They're so desperate to paper over their revenue shortfalls that they're willing to let obvious fraud through the system that even a human could spot. So email me if you want this. Now, I will admit, again, it's not going to be free forever. We'll also have to start charging you after a couple months, but you'll already know if it helps you or not by then. So go ahead and email and give it a try. Carousel, for DGen image ads, do you think it's fine to use what's already working on Meta, or should anything be revised specifically for DGen? How many images per ad group? At least start with what's working on Meta. Normally, that's not going to be what works the best, but it'll get you profitable results right away, mostly, and then you can start your testing from there. So, and then how many images per ad group? 1 or 2. And then, you know, or just 1 even, and then split test one against that one. And then after that test ends, another one against that one. Why that way? Because you're going to get data that you can act on the quickest versus more than, you know, throwing a whole bunch of ad copy in there all at once. Now, sometimes having more than one ad in there helps because it can micro optimize the right ad for the right demographic and all this. But do that after you do all your initial testing, so you know of the ads that are you can put in there are worthy of running. By the way, guys, shoot, what was I going to say? Forgot what I had another point I was going to make. I think I'll remember it in a minute. Carousel, organic is for soy boys. We always got the comic relief here. Carousel delivers. So I said back in 2014 when I started guaranteed PPC that the people that are in the future using organic and relying on this are really, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's really like, we'll just say they're not the most motivated people in business and in most businesses that are highly reliant on web traffic. Okay. Or, you know, e-commerce stuff that, you know, like that. If you are not wanting to run ads, there's no good reason for it, right? Because if organic works, you'll make more money running the ads. People will be like, well, they'll justify it, you know, any way they want. But at the end of the day, what they do that for is because they're cheap. They don't want to market their business. They don't want to invest in their business. Because I used to work at an SEO firm, and I just saw it. Like, we would also run paid ads, and that's what I would do there. And I was the strategist there. And I would just see it. Like, the people that are not running paid ads are just doing it to be cheap, basically. And I said, in the future, I don't want to work with somebody who's just trying to take all the shortcuts, because they're not going to want to pay you anything either. They don't want to pay Google. They don't want to pay you. So for that matter, everybody that's been on this free ride with Google for years, just relying on free traffic, that is coming to an end. If you have, and then, which you've got time now to pivot, but you know, like most things, people are going to wait to the last damn second to do anything about it until like there's zero organic traffic coming in. They're going to say, okay, let's run some paid ads, but it's too late because the paid ads ain't going to work instantly, probably, right? Or at least not at the level that they need it to. And that's just the way that it is. But I mean, if you were Google, you would do the same thing. Why not keep people on Google with just having the AI overview? people will stay on Google. They're more likely to make another search without leaving Google. They won't leave Google until they're ready to actually like do something, buy something, whatever, like actually take action. And all research will get done on Google, not somebody's website. And then it'll force all the business owners to buy paid ads. Then on top of it, again, if whatever organic is left is going to get shuffled in the AI, you're not going to be able to easily optimize for it because they're going to change it so often it'll be impossible to optimize for it, practically speaking, or at least be so expensive it's unattractive. Asdi, I have a question. We have 11 stores, locations, and I'm doing ads, but I only see 7 that there are. Why do you think that is? So are you saying that in the map pack, the ads, you only see 7 of your locations showing up in the map pack ad? I need some more information to tell you for sure. Carousel, I was talking to a Google rep, not a high level one, and she suggested running max clicks for a couple of weeks before switching to manual bids. Thoughts? You know, either it's manual bids or max clicks, one or the other. And I'm telling you, Google, first of all, guys, you got to ultimately understand why these Google reps exist in the first place. Why does the prosecutor exist in your local court system? It isn't there to help you. If you got advice from the prosecutor about how to defend your case, they are not going to give you information that would not ultimately help them. They're not human. They're there to get a conviction. Google is there to get you to spend money. They are not going to spend money on employees that are not going to help them make more money. Okay? They're trying to get you to increase your spend. If they suggest something to you, it's going to be to the end goal of making Google more money, which means spending more. That's the easy path. So you always got to realize this. Yes, you might be able to glean an idea or two from a Google rep eventually, but it's all predicated. It's all scripted. They go in there. They actually teach them, okay, just say this, this, and this, and this will make sure they spend more, and we'll comp you if you get them to say this, do this, this, and this. And then, but at the end of the month, if you don't get them to do this, this, and this, we're firing your fucking ass. So you better get them to do this, this, and this. And it has nothing to do with results whatsoever. This is crazy. Even the US ones, I don't care where they're at. They're all doing the same playbook. It's just a sales department. If they suggest anything to you, it's to get you to spend more money. If you make more money, great. If you don't make more money, who gives a shit? That's the mentality. That's the MO. So max clicks makes Google more money. Why? Because it doesn't say max clicks and conversions. It means max clicks. Well, you could get 10 billion fucking clicks to your website that aren't relevant. Does it matter? No. So why would you want to just maximize your clicks? It makes 0 sense when you think about it from this perspective. Manual bids, people don't like to start out with that because they're like, oh, I have to bid too much. You get what you pay for, sir. You don't want jack shit quality clicks, then you have to pay at the beginning when you have no reputation with Google. That's just the way that it is. You're better paying $50 for a quality click than $8 for a shit quality click that doesn't get you a sale. That's just what happens. So they're saying do manual clicks because they want you to spend more money. Bottom line, end of story, that's it. I remember what I was going to say now. So the other thing, guys, that we were going to do, and this is not supposed to be a sales pitch thing, but on the click fraud software, I just want to let you know that we're going to be doing a mighty hefty affiliate program. So if any of you guys that want to recommend this to your clients, passive income, not just 1 month, not for a year, but forever. You're forever going to get a good affiliate commission. And when I say good, I'm talking about like $50 a month affiliate commission of our 200 for referring us and getting the software company off the ground. We're more than willing to give this to you. Obviously, you could test it out for yourself, see if it works. And then if you refer it to your clients, you're going to get that forever. Okay. That's going to be the easiest money you ever made because A, you don't have to do anything once the client turns it on. We'll send you a check every month. 2, though, more importantly, your clients are not going to be as likely to quit because they're getting good results, and you have something that they're using that they have to continuously use, that more than just your advice, because the other softwares don't work now. So if you're interested in this, let me know. Cruisel. You're so crazy, man. You know, I think the Whitey Tighties went out of style a long time ago. I see. So what does click fraud do? It tells you how many fraud clicks on your campaign. So the shitty, non-useful click fraud software that's out on the market primarily for small businesses tells you, yes, what fraud clicks you got. But does that help you in any way? Not really. Why? Because any big traffic patterns that you could pick up that look fraudulent, you could pick up inside your ad account just using the standard reporting. B is because you still pay for the clicks that are fraudulent. So yeah, identified, I got ripped off, right? What good does that do? They've already ripped me off and there's no chance for a refund. So what good is the information? So it seems good on the surface to an Joe Schmo business owner. They could see, oh, wow, here's all the money I saved technically because I'm blocking all these users who fraudulently clicked on my ad so they can't click on them on them again. But the guys clicking on your ads will just change their IP address and click on them again anyway. So it does nothing, absolutely nothing, to hire and use a software like ClickSees. Use a software like ClickSees to block people from clicking again because they rotate through residential IP address lists that are thousands long, and you can only block so many IP addresses in your ad platform for the most part. And even then, it's just an unlimited thing. Like literally, they'll cycle through a list of 1 million IP addresses. You're never going to get them through blocking the IP address ever. So these softwares are riding on the old knowledge of IP address blocking works. We've moved on from this. It's not been effective for years now, which is why we created our software. So yes, you're going to be able to, with our software, see how much of it's fraudulent, but you're going to also be able to block it. So just to clarify, we have 2 modes on the software. One, it's monitor only, so you get to see what's fraudulent. Then there's the block mode, which all the software, all the clicks that it sees that it's fraudulent, you can start blocking them, of which the user gets blocked within the first 200 milliseconds of your website loading, of which if it blocks it, none of your conversion pixel from the ad platform never loads. Therefore, the ad platform says this is clearly a bot. The web page never loaded after the ad click. The pixel never loaded after an ad click. This must be a bot. This is a click we're going to refund for. And then it'll show up as a refund in your ad account. So then you don't pay for that click. Not to mention, the bigger point here is you're not going to optimize for bots anymore because the system's going to be able to tell very quickly, clear as day, which users are worthy of more to get more of and not. Obviously, users that stay on the site for 200 milliseconds is not a user that they're going to optimize you more for. Now, I know that kind of goes counter to what I was saying about the platforms being greedy, but they're not so greedy as to let somebody click and then stay on the site for 50 milliseconds and leave and then optimize for that. So it'll monitor and block. And while you're blocking, it still monitors, of course, and tells you the ones it's blocking. So there's a monitor element to it. But I'm telling you guys, this is not, you guys know this is the channel that is the no bullshit, no BS channel on information on PPC. I'm not going to just come out with a product that doesn't work and tell you to use it to just make a short-term buck. We've already got tons of clients at our firm. Yes, obviously everybody wants more money, but I'm not going to just wreck my reputation that I spent building up 6 years here on YouTube to sell a product that doesn't work. Okay, it's not worth it. Why would I do that? Just make some tiny side cash. This product works, and ultimately, the important thing is as you guys know, I talk about the future. You never, like Wayne Gretzky says, you don't go to where the puck is. You go to where the puck is going to be if you're going to be a world champion. In online marketing, it's always changing. You have to perceive what's going to happen 5 years from now and be ahead of it. All the money's been made in predictions, really, at the end of the day. Click fraud, I can just tell you, we made this tool ourselves for our clients because our agency was not going to live without this, because I see the future. The future is you don't know anything about click fraud monitoring and protection. You're out of the game. Simply put, so whereas now it's a nice to have, and it makes you a decent amount of money. But in the future, you're going to sit there and just be like one of those people who just waits to the last second on everything. First of all, you're going to waste tons of money in the meantime. Second of all, maybe you wasted so much money, you're just out of the game by then. This is not going away. Click fraud is getting worse every single year. 5 years from now, you either have to learn how to get rid of bots or you're just never going to be in business anymore. This is not a joke. Is it bot clicks or just unwanted customers? So when you talk about click fraud, this is two major types. Okay, there's actually three major types, but two major types. The first major type that most people are somewhat aware of is competitors clicking your ads. So competitors don't click your ads the old way anymore. People still think like if there's a grandpas in the internet marketing game, they literally think their competitors sitting in their office or have their employees like clicking their ad, like clicking the ad. No, that's not how it works anymore. They hire a software developer or use an off-the-shelf software tool like TrafficBot Pro to search for your ad on a random time delay using search keywords given to the system, find your ad, click it, mouse around your website for a while, maybe fill out the form, maybe not, maybe add something to the cart, maybe not, to trick the algorithm to have your campaigns optimized for bad traffic. And then they leave. And then they come back with another IP address looking like a totally unique person sometime in the future. Do it again. They drain your budget. Okay. That's the first type. The second type is bots. AI needs data sets to train their algorithm. How do they get the data? They scrape the internet like everybody else does that's training an AI model. How do they get to your website? They click an ad. So you got bots clicking through. You got bots building data lists, all kinds of bots on the internet, which is swarming the internet like no other right now. Then you also got, if you're running YouTube ads, display ads, anything like this, you got AdSense fraud actors. You got people who want more money from their ads. So they're going to watch and click through their own ads so they can get more money from Google AdSense. So you have this as well. All of it eat into your profits. So what the tendency is, everybody likes to say all the value in or should I say marketing, is in the ad spend. They seem to have no problem to throw 5-10 grand at ad spend because they think that's what's important in their business, but they'll spend practically nothing in terms of deciding how to make that 5 or 10 grand work in terms of hiring a strategist. They also don't want to think about click fraud because they just bury their head in the sand. They just dig a big hole in the sand, in the ground, and they stick their head in it like an ostrich, and they just bury it and they just pretend it doesn't exist. And they might know in the back of their mind click fraud's there, but it's like, what can I do about it? Or, oh, it'll just go away on its own. It's not going to go away. I promise you, it's not going away. It's not. It's going to get worse to the point where you're not going to be able to run your business if you don't know how to deal with it. Caruso, soy milk is fine, not for us. Yeah, if you drink soy milk, you're going to end up being one of those guys, who when Google shifts up the organic rankings and then your business doesn't work anymore, you cry, why is Google doing this to me? I don't deserve this. Instead of just being in a power position and being like, I got 20 other traffic sources. Now what? And then dealing with it that way. So ultimately, it takes balls to make money. of which there's a short supply of nowadays. Cruzel, when running DGen, what are 1 or 2 audience targeting things we really need dialed in to be massively successful? I can't give you a tutorial directly here. By the way, about ready to hit 10 grand in subs. And then with that, we could start offering courses on the channel. People endlessly ask me for courses. I've always turned it down. I think I'm going to make a demand gen course and sell it on the channel because I had so many questions about this, and people are going to need this with the demand gen campaigns going away and so forth. And they're so powerful and profitable. And it would need a whole document to kind of break it down in detail. The short of it is you just start with targeting people who are in market buyers through custom intent audiences, remarketing, stuff like this. And then you use the lookalikes targeting to try to take you further. That's the golden path for most people. There's other variants, but that's the go-to as your starting point. Shortcut is actually the long cut. Really, it's just priorities, right? If the government came and told you either have to make your business revenue double in 3 years, or I'm going to come and I'm going to cut your head off, you'd find a way to do it, right? People just like to talk. And the main reason why they don't make their business work with their ads is just because they don't put enough attention on it. And if they did, it would work. And that is because they have too many things that they're focused on. They want to say, I want to play golf. I want to be able to play cards on the weekend. I want to drink with my friends. And I want to have my side chick. And I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And then at the end of the day, do they have any energy for their ads? No. And then you can't complain it doesn't work. And just hiring some guy to do it all for you isn't going to work either. Like, you got to take this shit seriously. Anything that's as valuable as making ads work at a market and making millions from it is going to have some work involved. And just like a relationship, can you get married to your wife and then just be like, okay, I'm done with that. Now I can move on to something else? No, it's going to take consistent effort to maintain it on top of it. And if you don't want to do it, then let the millions be made by your competitor. Really simple. Mustafa. I'm paying around $400 per month to CallRail for 5 clients of mine. Can I not just build out the same thing with Claude and Twilio API, or I shouldn't cheap out here? I think you definitely could do that. I've seen people do that, not with Claude, but Twilio a long time ago, and it works. The problem is what's the time and effort required to do that? So using AI to create software scripts is great as long as what you're doing is fairly simple. The problem exists when you start doing complicated software and then it breaks, and then you're like, oh, fuck, what do I do? And that's the time where you realized you fucked up bad. Okay, not before. And anything to do with telephony, IP, phone systems, anything like that, it's super glitchy. So yeah, I'm just warning you that might not be a good idea. It's really hard to get to where it works well. I mean, even like I have a client who runs a call center, and he's telling me how shitty the call center software works. And I'm like, why don't you switch? And he's like, it's hard to find one that works well. And these are companies that have been around for years, and they still can't even get their product working consistently. CallRail can't even get their product to work consistently. It's pretty reliable, but not completely. And that is because it's hard to get it right. Caruso, do you think we'd get better performance on G ads if we date one of the reps? I know in the affiliate marketing group that I'm a part of, they were saying that, like a high-end one that I was invited to, they were saying that if you really kiss up to the Google rep, then they'll give you special treatment for when you need them. Like, for instance, when an ad gets shut down and to get it up again easily, like they could pull strings for you like that. Uh, that said, is it worth it, in my opinion, to do that? No, because then what are they're going to have your ass when they go to you go to a consult call with them and they're like, turn on broad match. Whatever you spend to get on their good side, you're going to spend more than that doing what, that's just the deal. That's the way it works dealing with the devil, right? They're always going to take more than what you give them. So in my opinion, it's not worth it, especially not that way. I'm definitely, it's like, would you go with the 80-year-old woman that's a billionaire if you had the chance? Probably not. Carousel. Boxer briefs. That's what I use. Anderson. Hello. Are you currently advertising on Yandex? I have heavily in the past. Currently, right now, no. It's very profitable. It's very, very underutilized. The problem is just we don't have very many clients in Russia and or a proxy country to Russia, which there's some that you can still advertise there. It works very similar to how Google works, and it is more profitable because it's so not competitive. Even more profitable than running Google search ads in Russia. That said, lately, I think with all the restrictions, I don't think you can even do that right now. I don't know because I don't have any Russian clients. But back in the day, it was you could do it. And Yandex, now things always change as well. Yandex maybe got greedier and raised their CPCs in the last few years. And it's not as good as what it was. I presume, though, it's probably pretty damn profitable still. In other countries, everything's so cutthroat in the US. Outside the US, everything is pretty easy in comparison. I can't imagine how you wouldn't make money. Now, that said, what tends to happen in other countries I see is if somebody's making good money doing something fairly simple, there'll be other competition. Eventually, it won't be. But if you're doing something that's hard to replicate in terms of the infrastructure of that business, it'll be extremely profitable almost always. Carousel. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's Russian. Carousel. So for DGen image tests, you like 2 ads per ad group for A/B testing, then swapping out the losing ad. And how many ad groups would you like to launch, or would you launch to start? Yeah, just one ad, another ad's in test. That works. You keep that and then get rid of this ad. Otherwise, you keep this ad and then you just throw another ad in test. That's what you would definitely want to do. And just keep doing that on an A/B basis until I usually wait until I got 3 losing tests in a row, because at that point in time, it's like I'm not confident that I know what I'm doing, and probably will just move on to some other activity at that point in time. I might also, if I tested 5 ads, and I might stick with the 2 out of the 5 that best ones and let Google rotate through them on their own, because they might find certain segments of the market that where one works over the better other itself, and try doing that versus the one ad long term after my testing is done and see if that works better. And how many ad groups to start? Yeah, really, I like to have one campaign usually for remarketing basis and one for first click. And of that, I don't have just an easy answer for you, like one or whatever. One thing that's useful is having multiple ad groups, though, so you can test different segments. So you could find out, like for remarketing, is 30 days going to work? Or do we need 30 days, or can we go 60 days? Remarketing audience, or can we do 90 days? And you could find this out by having a different one for each ad group. Same thing on the first click campaign. You could do people who have been to this competitor site versus this competitor site, stuff like that. Now, it varies by niche, so I can't give you a way. That said, if you have too many ad groups, they won't all get clicks. So Usually you want less than 5 at the beginning. And oftentimes certain ones will hog all the clicks. And if that happens, then what you got to do is break those out into a new campaign so they'll get clicks still. Hey, Drakon. Yeah, please tell us about your Yandex results. I made a video, by the way, about Yandex a couple years ago, talking about my experience running the Yandex ads. You definitely should look for that. You could search for that on my channel homepage in the search bar. Just type in Yandex and find my video. There's some really good information there that can get you started. Cruzel. Corey will not rug pull us. Yeah, I mean, hey, if the software product did fail or is failing, I'm going to be straight up with you about it. I'm not going to let you guys use a failing product. ClickSees came up with, they got 20,000 customers now. And at some point in time, it went off the rails where it doesn't work anymore about 5 years ago. And instead of being honest with people and telling them it doesn't work anymore, they just kept going with it. Let's just keep taking their money. And then that's where they're at nowadays. So if it stops working, I'll let you know, but works like hell right now, or that is works really good right now. And you should definitely take advantage of it. There's no risk in at least trying to see how much fraud traffic you got. That in and itself is free and risk free. So why would you not at least want to do that? But what I'm telling you is the average person is going to have anywhere from 20% of their ad traffic, and I don't care if you're talking about Facebook, Google, or Bing, to 90% of their ad traffic is going to be bots / click fraud. I know that's hard to believe. I actually said on one of my previous lives, I said, if anybody doesn't believe this, message me and I'll show you proof of this. And they messaged me. Guy messaged me. I showed him and then just disappeared after that. It's funny how, because here's the thing, right? Click fraud is a weird thing in terms of how people deal with this. The ad networks are benefiting from it, so they're not going to tell you. The click fraud software company don't care if it works. They just want you to pay. So they're not going to tell you anything truthful. The PPC managers / consultants, they aren't going to tell you anything truthful, because why do they want their customers to know there's click fraud out there and start asking questions they can't answer very easily, nor presumably in their mind do anything about, and it just overcomplicates their job for nothing. They're just there to make money. They don't care if the client gets great results. And the evidence of that is in what they do and say every day. I see people doing the bare minimum with this stuff, and they may say they do it because clients, they're always, being an asshole, and they think, oh, well, what? Screw them. What? I don't care what they get anyway. So nobody out there is telling the truth about this. Nobody wants to tell you what I'm telling you here. Right? And if you notice, somebody does get on Reddit and they ask, how do I deal with click fraud? You know what the answers always are? Set up your tracking better. Tracking ain't going to do everything for you if you've got mostly click fraud traffic, or tracking at a very high level of sophistication that most people don't have. But even if you do have the tracking set up right, it's not going to fix it all. Why? Because the traffic fraud comes in, and the tracking is going to be, it's going to be on a delay. So you can get hit with a wave of click fraud for a month. The algorithm eventually adapts. Well, that's a month's worth of money is gone already. And then it stops. And then another wave of click fraud comes in. You got to be able to deal with it in real time, because it's always going up and down in different ways it's being done. And it has to be done with the tracking. But people will just tell you the simple answer. Why? Because there's no incentive to tell you the truth. Why are they going to tell you the truth? It's just like if you went into a car dealership and you're like, Yeah, I like that Ford Focus there. It's nice. It's quite nice. I admit it's nice. But can you tell me what other dealers in the area that might have it cheaper? Why the fuck is that car dealership going to tell you the answer to that question and not lie to you? What do they have to gain? So you can't go to any other vendor for information because they're selling something else. They're selling their own flavor of solution. And frankly, they're in a game, going back to the PPC space, of churn and burn clients. Why are we going to overcomplicate this? The client's going to last a year. I'm going to have them, by the time they realize they're not making money, I'll have found another replacement client. Why do I need to have them make money? They don't really care at the end of the day what's going on. And that's just how this market is. And for that matter, you make almost, at least for the average guy, you make just about as much scamming people outright than you do doing it right. So they just say, oh, screw it, let's just scam everybody. That's what most of the people in the market do. They're not incentivized to talk about click fraud with anybody, or they may not just not know. But I think people know, they just don't want to admit it exists. It's like the mafia, right? Never admit the mafia exists. Why? Because then you'll have problems. Just pretend it doesn't exist, and then it'll go away. Problem's still there technically, but at least we don't have to deal with the problem with the client. They'll keep buying it. And it's like, cheating on your husband or wife. As long as they don't know, it doesn't affect them, right? No, it still does. You're just being an asshole about it. You're not telling them. Carousel. Corey, who do you think will win the Stanley Cup? Again, I have no time for sports. Actually, I watched sports when I was younger a lot, but I don't have time for that anymore. Is your click fraud software going to work fine with the state server-side tracking? Yes, it will. It will work fine with any platform, any software stack that you have, which is why I built it, right? So it'll work with anything. And actually, the software is going to get even better over time because we're going to be able to crowdsource all our clients' data to make the system better. Ideally, what I would like to do is, in the end, we get 1,000 customers already, which is the goal. I want to take ClickCease's business away from them, show them who's boss. We want to take all of our, we'll give you a discount if you basically give us access to your conversion data. And then we'll just use the data that Google normally uses to optimize to see what's normally fraudulent and not, and then use that also to identify how to block people proactively. For now, we have to rely on, broad-based rules and third-party data sources, but we're going to build an incredible product over time. When you get your first wife, work on a second. You know what? Even if I was a Muslim and that, I still wouldn't be able to deal with the headache of that. I don't know what the thrill of having the multiple girlfriend wife thing is. You got 2 headaches instead of 1. Who wants that? Carousel. For DGen image tests, do you like 2 ads per ad group for A/B testing, then swapping out the losing ad? And how many ad groups would you launch to start? See, I think I answered that already. If I didn't quite answer it well enough, let me know again. Cruzel, when will the DGen course be dropping? Take my moolah. I think I'll start working on that a little bit next week. I don't have a good answer for you because I haven't even started that. And my goal was to get the click fraud software launched. I'm going to be taking a week off next week for the 4th of July. I usually do that, and especially this year because with it being the 250th anniversary, everybody's going to be MIA. So I figured I'd take the week off on vacation, but I am going to spend the week finishing up the rest of our website launch planning, enough to get the designer and programmer the rest of what they need to launch the website, take payments, all the rest of it. And then I'm going to start that course. That's the most important course. If you have any ideas for other courses that I should have, let me know. Lots of people ask for a Google Ads course, but the reality is that's so generic. I could talk for 20 hours how to run Google Ads. Should there be just a search ads course, just a demand gen course, just a shopping course? That's what I'm more so thinking, because I can at least with that give you precise information about it. And then I was thinking also I would have different courses for different industries. Now I'm going to have a different live stream series where we're going to break down niche by niche, like what to do for that niche, but having a ready-made package of information to go. So if you are a lawn care company, here's what to do for lawn care with the ads, with the landing pages, all of it, copy paste, and the information about results and all that. We sell templates. It's kind of basically what it is, but I was going to build it into a package of information, not just the template itself, and then sell that. If you have any ideas for courses, let me know. I ain't too proud to kiss some booties. We all have to work and serve somebody. Even if we're a business owner, we got customers, right? Hamza, how can we manage to run ads for a niche that has least search volume, like 10 a month? What's the best way to run for such keywords and niche? Like, what is the match types and what should be the bidding? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will try to run broad match for something like that. I still don't believe in it. I believe in still using your phrase match, and if it's low volume, it is what it is. Find other ways to market. Run a radio ad, run a direct mail campaign, something else, or YouTube campaign, whatever. And yeah, I mean, you use manual bidding and switch over to maximize conversions or maximize conversion value bidding strategy once you got a little conversion data built up. It's not that much different than in that regard than your standard niche with a lot of volume. It's the same process. Anderson, what's your opinion on finding the right CPA for a random product in Google Ads? How would you estimate a reasonable target CPA before collecting any data? Yeah, I mean, realistically, I have a special spreadsheet that I use for all new clients. That I break everything down into before I start advertising anything. I know it annoys a lot of people because they just want to hurry up and run ads, but if you don't do all your homework before you start running ads, you're just going to end up having to pause it and then just do it anyway. You can't run from the work. You got to be able to factor with your margins and your overhead and all that and drill it down to a single CPA target before starting, because otherwise you're just completely flying blind, and that's just dumb. So I ask the client, their average closing rates, or if I don't know them, I go find my average industry closing rates and do research. I find out the average ticket size of a sale, or if I don't know that and we have data, we'll take our last 3 years revenue data, divide it by the number of unique customers we had to get that. Then we find our overhead, and then we mathematically calculate what our CPA needs to be with those factors involved and in mind. And then we know what to do right away with our campaign. We have to get to this number. And then obviously sometimes you'll have to change that number as you get into it, but at least you can get a general idea. If we get here, we're probably going to be profitable after expenses, and there's our break-even point. Let's go for that at the beginning. And obviously you can do this pretty easily too, because Google Keyword Planner has a starting and ending PPC, CPC, and you're going to be at the high end of the range, as it says at the beginning. Also, You have to estimate your conversion rates. Well, that can pretty easily be estimated either by typing into Google average conversion rates for search ads in XYZ niche, or you go general in local services or national services or professional services. And then you could find out your conversion rate. Also knowing that your conversion rate is going to be lower in the beginning because you don't have any reputation with Google. So they're going to send you piss poor traffic at the beginning. So if it says that you should get 7% conversion rate on Google, really you should be assuming it's going to be like 3% at the beginning at least. Then it's going to build up and you're going to get that 7% after 6 to 12 months already. But with that information I just gave you, you can run the numbers. And if you want to use my spreadsheet to calculate this that I use in all our clients' sales pitches and proposals, email me and I'll send it to you. Free copy. Carousel. In the affiliate groups you're in, are the ballers running DGen? Yeah, that's their favorite campaign type right now. And a lot of it just comes down to Facebook's getting so picky and demand gen is more stable. Now, Google is getting more picky now with demand gen than before, but for the most part, as long as you're not doing something super edgy, it'll run and run and run. And it's just as profitable as Facebook traffic, like I mentioned earlier. Hamza, I shift max conversions bidding to TCPA, but now after 7 days, not a single impression on my ad, keywords with broad match. Yeah, so the easy solution to this is just simply switch it back. As to why it went to 0 impressions, I would double check my change history to make sure nothing else has changed. Also consider maybe there's a change on your site somewhere you don't know about, which could put you back in a learning mode as well. Or if you want to go half measure here, you could just remove the TCPA and in its place put one that's super high. And then use that and then slowly walk down the TCPA after making that initial transition. A lot of times people put that TCPA too aggressive at the beginning, and then the impressions will go down to 0 or near 0, whereas you should have started it really high and then walked it down 15%, 15%, 15% like that. Mustafa, have you ever used cold emailing softwares like Instantly? I'm trying to reach out to web accessibility sued businesses and rebuild their website. What's the best way to reach out to them? I have used what's the one we were using? Shoot, I can't even remember. It's been so long now. Hang on. Shoot, I can't even remember what we used before. If you email me, I'll send you the actual one that I know for sure works okay. But I think a lot of them are basically pretty much the same anyway. We would use that software that it's like, cold emails. You could upload, let's say, a list of 300 business owners, and then it'll email them staggeredly. So it isn't emailing them all at once. So your email reputation doesn't go to shit, or it doesn't look unusual, looks human-like still. It'll send one every 5 minutes over the course of a day. And then if they don't respond, you get to build a campaign like after 3 days, no response, then send the second email. Then no response after 7 days, send the third email. And the follow-ups are key. That's where half of the response is. Do 5 follow-ups. Problem is, though, anymore, there's so many people doing it now that it's it's hard to get a response out of people because they get so much email. And if you are going to get it to work, you're going to need to get their personal email address of the owner or decision maker. Just sending it to like info@domainname.com. That's just a waste of time. Not unless you got something to sell that's super incredible, irresistible. Then you maybe that could get forwarded to the actual decision maker. But unless you're doing that, forget it. And because the person checking the email don't give a rat's ass whether the website works. They just don't. So you got to then go ahead and have a strategy to guess the owner's email, checking the permutations, sending test emails, and so forth. And there's a whole process just for that. Then you dump it into your email program. But still, even that, it's not nearly as effective as it used to be. It still works. What much more effective is sending letters out in terms of getting people to be serious about your offer. Because think about it from your perspective. Somebody emails you cold. How much serious are you going to take that company? Yes, it might help if you had in the email signature that said like Inc. 5000 company or something like that. But you're going to look like a desperate, pathetic person, basically. And they're not going to take what you're saying seriously. Not unless you have something that's like remarkably incredible. They're just not going to take you seriously. Whereas if you send them a letter, it's like, okay, they had to spend money to send this to me, therefore it must be serious. But if it's an email, there's no cost to it. To them, they could be like, well, he sent it to 50,000 other people. So not to say it won't work, but those are the things that I would do to make it work. And what I could tell you about that industry is I actually had a client we were representing in that space. And, most people are going to use those cheap plugins to be compliant, and they don't actually make you compliant. They're scams, essentially. And you could find, if you had to build a good scraper bot that could crawl the web, well, he way explained it was like these trolls that sue a bunch of people, they'll sue a whole industry like vineyards, California vineyards, and just sue every single one. Why? Because it standardizes the process, and they know that industry, they all have money to pay. So a whole industry will get hit all at once. If you could go after those people somehow and find out the one got sued, all the rest of them got sued, and then went after all of them and said, hey, I represent people in this space of specialize in it, you would get a high response rate probably from that. And therefore, it'd be worth sending them a letter, whatever, instead of just an email. But the main thing is, people are full of shit. They say they like to be they're like they always follow the law. They're a law-abiding citizen. But really, at the end of the day, they don't give a fuck about that. It's all just fruity bullshit. You tell somebody their website's not ADA compliant, and they're like, oh, well, you know what? That I do want to fix that. It's $30,000 to rebuild your website. It is compliant. No, it's not. Here's why. Go away. They're not going to want to admit that they have to spend that money to make it compliant, because at the end of the day, they don't give a shit about anybody but themselves. They don't care about no disabled people being able to view their website. And the only time he said that they were willing to fix it was when they got sued already. Once they got hit, not only when you get hit, you have to pay money as a fine, but you have to promise to make it compliant as a part of the terms. So they have to do somebody. And then he would just position himself at that point in time where they already got the letter, they're already getting sued, and they have to do it. If you're not in that position to sell somebody in that position, they're not going to do it. They're too greedy. They're too cheap. I know you didn't say you weren't going after people who didn't get hit already, but just some words to the wise here. You got to go after people who have already been hit. The list is going to be everything. Getting your hands on a list of people who's already been sued. And for that matter, there's court records. You can go on to LexisNexis and get a record of every single lawsuit having to do with disability compliance in the last 6 months and go after and send all of those people a letter. But you know what the problem also is? Guy already told me. Soon as somebody gets sued, guess what? They get 20 fucking thousand letters from other companies offering to do the same thing because they have access to the same list as well. So you think you're going to be the only one emailing them? Not to mention, they're going to make them promises you aren't going to be willing to promise them. They're going to say, oh, we could fix your website for $3,000. And you can't do it for that, but they'll take their money and run. Why? Because they're desperate and they want to hear that it's $3,000, not that it's $30,000. So those are all just things that we picked up from that client. Mustafa, take my moolah for the DGen course. I'll be happy to do that only and if I have a quality product ready to go, but I will be the first in line to offer it to you. Appreciate the feedback on that. Cruisel, not next weekend, not 4th of July. So 4th of July falls on a weekend this year, and I'm taking the week off before 4th of July actually hits, or, technically is that same week, right? It just is going to fall on a Saturday. So I'm taking off the week before. Usually if I'm going to take a week off for vacation, I do it during a holiday because that's the time there's less stuff going on with our clients. But yeah, I just legitimately need to get the software done because this is a product. It seems tacky that I'm saying it like this, but this is literally a product every single small business needs. They don't know that they don't need it yet, but they damn well need it. If you're going to advertise and spend more than 50 or $100 a day on ads, you need it. This isn't like a nice to have. If you don't use it, you're pissing more money away than what the software costs at minimum. At worst, when you get hit with click fraud someday and you get broadsided because it comes out of nowhere a lot of times, your campaign is going to go down to zero at a time that's most inconvenient to you, and you're not going to know what to do to fix it. Don't put yourself in that position. Carousel, we need a special group in Discord for the DGen course buyers. You know what? That's a great suggestion. If you buy the course, you get unlimited feedback, not only from myself on the clarifications on it, what to do, and then of which if I respond, it's available for other people who buy the course to read as supplemental material. But you could also ask the other people in the group how they run their campaigns and learn a lot from them. That's a very good suggestion, Cruzel. I appreciate that. Hamza, hey Corey, can you share that how we can get help with AI agents in Google Ads? So I did an interview with the guy that runs Optimizer software, and one of the main features of that software that they're pushing right now is the fact that you can run scripts in Google Ads much easier. Whereas you could run scripts without that software. It's just a lot more challenging. But with their software, it's easy basically to run whatever scripts you want and provides a great framework for everything. So I suggest you look into them and look into that. Not the interview itself, but like just what you can do using that software and then with scripting. I don't do too much scripting myself because there's a lot you can just do inherently with Google Ads and in terms of automation, shutting things on, turning them off at certain times, and that kind of thing. So, but if you're going to do some tricky stuff, I suggest using their software because the big problem with the scripting is if Google's system changes, that script doesn't work. Then you might have a problem on your hands. And if you use an intermediary like that, it's less likely to break on you later on. Ruiz, how do I get rid of the other traffic inside of where ads showed in YouTube in-stream campaigns? We spend most in this category with about $10 CPCs, but no sales. Normal placements have 80 cents CPC. Yeah, there's no way to fix that unless you're going to do dedicated placement targeting, target certain channels, or you can use the click fraud software to optimize around it to some degree as well. I would suggest trying out our software to see if that will fix it for you. Like I said earlier, you can email us for our click fraud software we're releasing this month. Its product's done, just have no official sales page for it. I'll let you try it out for free and see if that will work if you want. As to whether that cleans all of that up, I don't think it will do all of it, but if you add it, it'll clean it up some right away, and then over time, it'll clean more and more of it up. Because a lot of that is actually bot traffic. Or should I say that form of click fraud where people click their own ads. You got people with YouTube channels, just like spam blogs, where they have bots clicking their own ads, watching their own ads. So, and Google's looking the other way on it because they're still making money, and they need to pad the revenue right now because the economy is in shambles. And they need to make their money for their shareholders either way. Carousel. Do we need to block something in the content suitability? You can do that. It's not likely to work. Go ahead and obviously try that anyway. But usually that doesn't do anything. All that does is get you away from some channels that have been tagged as a little bit edgy. That's mainly it. Carousel, besides creative, is segment targeting one of the most important things to dial in for DGen? Yeah, I mean, obviously there's two main factors there. It's the creative and then the targeting, of which they're both important, obviously, but I'd still say the offer/creative is 80% of it. If you got that and you just throw up a simple, simple targeting, average target, it'll work. Mercy, if I am trying to protect profits by reducing my impression share in the auction, would it be better to run on a higher budget with lower TCPA target or a smaller budget with a TCPA to let the budget spend? Well, there is some benefit to running a campaign with a higher TCPA, so you're giving it more room to run and then therefore learn, so that when you put it at a low target CPA, it's able to spend more and achieve that same lower TCPA. Okay. It depends on how quickly you want to get to your end goal. If you want to get there quickly, you let it spend at a higher TCPA for a while. If you can't, then you have to just let it slowly build up at a lower TCPA, which it'll do some testing still on its own, just not nearly as much testing as quickly. So obviously time is money, opportunity is money. Generally speaking, you either can run it at a target CPA, you need to make money right away, or you don't, and you get to higher sales quickly when you don't have to. So, I mean, that's, I guess, the main thing I could say overall. What are your thoughts on using maximized conversions versus target CPA in Google Ads? When do you prefer one strategy over the other? Yeah, I mean, it's always starting with manual bidding, then you're going to go to max conversions, then target CPA in that order. So it's not a matter of if we're going to use it. Now, that said, if we're struggling to spend our budget that we have allocated for ads, then we'll typically let it have no target CPA for longer. eventually, you run it long enough, you're going to want a payoff at some point. You're going to still want the target CPA to be at a certain level because you're not going to want to work for free. Then you can dial it in. Question is how quickly do you need the target CPA to be what it is? Because like I just said earlier, the longer you run it without it, the more breathing room you give it to run, the quicker it will get to where it's maxed out in terms of opportunities. And then when you put it to a low target CPA that you really need, it'll have more conversions at that target CPA versus dragging the whole process out and having a target CPA in there sooner. So that's the main thing there. Okay, guys, I'm getting a little bit struggling to keep going here. I am going to suggest that we pick this up again next week, not next week, because like I said, I'm going to take a week off. Finally going to take a week off for a vacation here / launch have everything to launch our software company so I can come back and everybody can start using that officially. And without having to go through this manual process of going through and emailing me and all that. But I appreciate all the questions that you asked here today, guys. And as always, I really appreciate you guys helping me grow the channel, therefore also growing the business. You guys always have good questions. Made me laugh a couple times, and look forward to it next time. So, but I'll still be here Wednesday with the live optimization series, and we'll be also launching our other live stream series where we're going to be talking and I'm going to be reacting to other PPC creators' content on YouTube. We're starting this, if not, basically in 2 weeks. So look out for this as well. Thank you for watching.